Hey there guys, welcome back to ARTFX Studios, and I want to show you a new plugin. I haven't really tested this out yet, I've just got it in the mailbox. It's a new plugin by SugarBytes, and it's called Obscurium. Now, Obscurium is really interesting. I've been playing around with it for about 5 minutes. So I haven't really spent too much time with the plugin itself, but what I already can say is that this is not going to be the plugin that I would use for my normal sound design sessions. I'm not going to use this for creating a synth patch that I might use in a track. No, this is more for creating other worldly sounds and patterns that would otherwise be really difficult to recreate using a normal synth. And to show you that, I'm just gonna browse through the presets and just gonna show you some different presets on here, and then I'm gonna go and dive into the init preset and see what we can what we can get out of this. But the thing with Obscurium is that you play one note and it's gonna turn that single note into either chords or a pattern. It can be a rhythmic pattern, it can be a sustained sound, it can be basically anything, but it doesn't really look the way a normal synth looks, and it doesn't really work in the same way either. So when I press a note, the first thing you can see is right here down the bottom, you've got your, basically just your keyboard. And I'm playing an F, so you can see when I played an F, it sort of like transposes everything around on the keyboard. And the way it transposes this is determined by the pitch setting. So here we have this pitch setting, and you can see basically we can choose of different scales. I can choose a blues scale. You know, it gives it a different sound. We can switch to Arabian. And it will basically only use the notes that are in that particular scale. We also have a chord table, so we can choose 4 different tables of chords. You've got straight chords. Just gonna change the sound. We've got spread out chords, which basically just have the notes spread out across the octaves on the keyboard. And you really can change the way this sounds, but it's not really predictable. That's what I'm trying to say. So it is a really weird plugin, and you basically get a lot of stuff. So let's just go into an initialized preset, which is down here. So when we play this, that's what we're gonna get. That's the init preset. So right here on the right side, you can see all the different options that we can choose from. And right now they're basically just mapped across the keyboard, except for the resonance and the type. So right here on the left side, we can see that these 5 all have to do with the pitch. This one is the mix, so it mixes between the analog signal and the FM signal. So that's pretty cool. Then we get the 2 oscillators, which is an analog oscillator right here. And then we've got the FM oscillator, which basically uses the first oscillator but applies FM to that sound. So if you don't know what FM is, look up frequency modulation and you might be able to understand that. So this mix knob mixes between that analog signal and the FM signal. Then we get the noise oscillator, so it's just a noise oscillator. We can change the volume of it. And then we get the filter, so these are your 3 settings for the filter. We get a lot of other stuff as well, but I think it would be pretty cool to just dive in and see what we can do with it. So when we press that F note, we can hear a lot of noise. Now I'm gonna take the noise out, and we've got a lot of tools that we can work with. For instance, this is the basic graph where you will actually draw in the modulation. So if I draw a shape like that, we can hear now that the noise is going to start at a loud level, but it will drop down. So that's one way. You've also got your aim controls right here, which is pretty cool. You've got different draw tools. So I can, for instance, draw a straight line. And I'm now drawing it on the cutoff. So that's not really what I wanted. I'm just going to bring that cutoff up all the way. And then take the noise and just do that. So you can hear that already sounds different. So let's just take the noise out. And let's take a look. Now, when I press that F note, you can see that it lights up right there. But we also get these other dots lighting up. So we get a D. And the D note actually has a red dot in it. So that means that the note that has the red dot is the root note that is being played. So even though I'm playing an F, I'm playing a D as the root note. And I get an A sharp on top of it and another D right up the octave. So let's see what we can do with that. You've got your polyphony right here, so I'm going to bring that down to 1. Turn that draw tool up to 32. That way I can change 32 steps at a time. So now we only get 1 note. And let's bring the pitch down. So now it's playing that D note. And we have the polyphony set to 1, so it's only playing 1 note at a time, but the ARP is set to the 2nd note of the scale. Now, we are using a simple Dorian with straight chords, so nothing too fancy, but we are getting the 2nd note of the scale because we can see right here, this is set to the 2nd slot, basically. This would be the 1st one, and this is the 2nd one. So if I bring that down, you can see we now have the root note. So when I play an F, we're actually hearing an F now. The reason it does that is because when you increase or decrease the polyphony to 1, it can only play 1 note at a time. But Obscurium by default triggers a chord. So when we then have the polyphony set to 1, it will only play 1 note of the chord. And because the ARP is set to the second slot, like that, it will pick the second note of that chord to play. And I don't know what chord it plays, but because it plays some kind of a chord, it's going to play the D note instead of the F note. I don't know what I wanted to say there, but so the chord setting, if I bring this down all the way, you're just going to get your normal triad. And we can see that because I'm now playing an F. And because the ARP is still set to the second slot, we get the G sharp as the note that is being played. So when I now bring the ARP down to here, we get the F note again. So that's pretty cool. I'm gonna turn off the pitch. We can basically turn off everything right here. So if I say I can make a completely randomized pattern down here using this paint tool, just do something like that. And you can hear the pitch changes just randomly all the time. If I then turn that little triangle in front of it off, it's basically just not gonna trigger that pitch. So this is the same as just bringing all the notes down to the 0 point. So I can increase the polyphony if I want. Let's say to 3. And now we get a chord. And now we can play around with the actual chord. And you can hear you get a whole bunch of different chords out of it. Now, we can play around with the paint tool. And we can increase the polyphony if we want to get even more notes. So let's say 6. And now you can really hear the changes in the chord. So you get all those chords of which you can choose, and we can actually change that. Let's say I want to have a... let's do a harmonic minor, and let's use the straight chords. So let's, I'm gonna do increments of 4, so I'm now gonna be able to change 4 notes at a time, 4 of these dots, and let's just try and do something. So I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna bring it down again, and I like this pattern, I wanna use that, and I don't wanna have to remake the second part, so I'm just gonna drag this down. So that's your loop marker. So now it's just looping that first half of the modulation matrix. So you can hear that it now changes in between the chords. And it's not really that good of a change. I'm gonna bring this up to 8. And let's just try and find a cool chord. That sounds good. Now on the Mod tab, or let's go to the Amp tab first. Right here you've got your amp envelope, and I can bring this down or up. And what it does, it changes between the amp envelope for the MIDI note and the amp envelope for the arpeggiator. So the arpeggiator is triggered right here. We can see the steps. These are the arpeggiator steps, the triggers. And if I bring that up, we're now getting the ARP sound. So you can see the ARP is set to here. It's set to play 1 note at a time. And because we're only using the bottom setting on the ARP, it's only playing the first note of the chord. And the first note of the chord is the same for both chords in this progression, so it's not really going to work that well. If I turn the ARP down to this setting, which means it's a triggering chord, so it's actually just an ARP that triggers the chord over and over again, we now get something like that. So now for the triggers, that's pretty cool as well, because, or let's talk about this first. If I bring this down, we now get an envelope for the MIDI note, so it's not gonna play the arpeggiated notes, it's only gonna play a long sustained note now, as you can hear. And you've got your attack, and you've got your sustain, and your release. So you can see how that works. It sounds pretty interesting. Now, I'm gonna switch to the amp envelope for or the ARP envelope. That sounds pretty okay. And if I now play around with these dots, so let's just create a fast pattern like this, like that. And it's also looping this part, so we get a loop of this, so we could actually create a pretty sophisticated pattern over here, doing something like this. So that sounds okay. So that is the mix between the FM signal and normal signal. So this is the normal analog signal. And I think we can change a whole bunch of stuff to it. On the analog signal, you've got your sync frequency. Which is pretty cool. You can play around with that. Might be cool to do some kind of a shape like that. Maybe do the frequency a little bit slower. It's going faster now. So that sounds pretty cool. Then you've got your pulse width, which is also interesting. It's the pulse width of the waveform, basically. It's got some more thinner sound. Then you've got your waveform. You can switch between a normal square and a saw, or somewhere in between. Let's do this. And let's switch over to the FM signal so we can hear that as well. So the FM signal, let's see. And now we can mix this. And we can even do something like this. We can use the draw tool with the straight line to create something interesting. So that's pretty interesting, but it's not really something that I would use to create, let's say, just a bass sound or something like that. This is really for creating interesting patterns or interesting sounds that would be really difficult to recreate on a normal synth. That's what I see this really useful for, but I don't see this useful for just creating the loudest, nastiest dubstep bass or anything like that. You do have stuff like LFOs. For instance, you've got your LFO right here and an envelope that you can use. We can spread the signal. We have different we've got a chorus, we've got some delay, we've got some reverb. So that already sounds a bit better than what it was. Now, you've also got the clock, and the clock is really interesting. What this is going to do it's basically going to determine how this is going to be played. So you can see the notes right here. So by default it's going to be set to these dots. And that's just going to change the length of every of these steps. So if I bring these up to the second value, it's going to change the speed at which this is playing. So you gotta be familiar a bit with notes and the way notes look to be able to tell which one is what, but just playing around with them you can visually see what's going on down here at the bottom when I play. You can see the dots moving. And you can set different speeds for each one of those, so that's pretty cool. If I just turn on all the steps, and now I can, for instance, make this a triplet. So you can hear what I can do with that. Really changes the way this sounds in a really weird kind of fashion. I don't know. It sounds like triplets. So we could, for instance, do something like that and alternate between a faster and a slower part. So you can see how that works. Now the same goes right here. Down here we've got obscure direction. So if I play that, it's going to determine what direction the note is going to go. So if I want, I can make this go to just random steps every single time. Do something like that. And now we can see down here that the place this is at when I play a note, it's just changing randomly. So that's pretty cool. It's still following along that obscure clock down there, so it's definitely doing some interesting stuff now. Still, you don't have much control over what is going to come out. It's mostly just doing stuff and hoping that it sounds good, and if it sounds good, just using it. I mean, I don't see this being really useful for when I have a certain sound in my head and I want to create that. Definitely not. I can see this useful for when I think of a way like I need a rhythmic pattern, but I don't know what kind of rhythmic pattern. Then it would be pretty interesting to take this plugin, because I can sort of like create the rhythmic pattern down here, and using the obscure clock I can actually change the way the pattern is played and the speeds it's being played at. I can also change direction, and I could in fact create the rhythm that I need. And then I can play around with all of these things right here in the modulation matrix to get an interesting thing that I wouldn't really have known what I would create before I started. It's really just a matter of trial and error when I work with this. But the pattern itself is pretty easy to create. It's not that... the patterns itself are pretty easy to do. It's straightforward. You can just turn these off and on, you know, and as long as the obscure clock is set to all to just that one single direction, so everything is set to that and everything is set to this, then it's pretty straightforward, because every of those steps are just going to be the exact same length. And then when I play with these, I can simply just create a pattern that works. Now I might have to bring the clock up a bit to, let's say, I think that's 1/8 notes. We're gonna hear that now. So you can see and hear that we're now getting a pretty interesting thing. And if I want, I can change the actual chord. I could in fact even make another chord here. Not that it sounds good right now, but you see what I mean. Let's just go back to that second chord. That's weird. So that sounds good. Now, down here you've got some other stuff. I'm not totally sure what everything of this does. Modifiers. I'm not really sure what this one does, but so you can change one lane at a time. It's pretty cool. I guess. That's pretty interesting. We can change, for instance, this. So this sort of like becomes a little bit spooky sounding. Now that is something I really like. So I'm gonna save this. Save preset. And alright, so I'm gonna go into user. And let's save this as spooky chords. Just gonna save it as spooky chords. Sounds pretty cool. Now the super obscure, let's see what that is. Okay, so I just did something that I didn't want to do. So let's see. I really don't know how this works, by the way, so I'm just trying this out. I'm not too sure if I like that, but let's try and take that second step and just moving them a little bit around. Now that's something I would use. It sounds pretty cool. So yeah, there you have it. I'm not really not gonna go too much into depth about this in this video. Partly because I haven't really spent too much time with this, and this is just a first look into the project, into the whole thing, into this whole synth. So yeah, you can get it now at the SugarBytes website. They have released it a couple of days ago. I haven't seen too many videos about it yet, so I hope you guys like this. If you want to have these weird, otherworldly kind of sounds, and if you want to have a plugin that's able to generate these things without you doing countless of hours and hours and hours of sound design to get to this, yeah, then definitely pick it up. Try out the demo if you want. It's amazing, and by checking out the demo, you can already see if you like it or not. You can play around with it, and if you like it, then buy it. If you don't like it, then just move on. I think that for certain things, this plugin is really, really good. But for just your straightforward sound design stuff, I would most likely grab something like Serum or Massive or anything like that. But for stuff that needs to sound different and that needs to give this special feeling, this special kind of character to your sound, I would say this plugin definitely does a great job at creating sounds that are really difficult to recreate. That's it, basically. So, Other than that, I hope you like this video. Now, there haven't really been too many tutorials in the past weeks. I haven't been doing Tutorial Tuesday, and even though the season is not yet finished, but I am not working on it anymore. And the reason why that is because I am completely stuck with this project. I don't know what I want to do. So instead of just going on and going on and going on and trying to make it work, which is most likely not going to happen, what I always do when I get stuck on a project is I move on. I move on to a new project, and sometimes I come back to the project later on to finish it, and I suddenly get this great idea to finish the project. But right now I'm completely stuck with the Tutorial Tuesday project about Neurofunk drum and bass. So I haven't really spent too much time on working on it anymore. I don't feel like working on it. It's bringing my creativity down right now. And instead I've been working on some Neurofunk tracks that, in my opinion, sound much better than the Tutorial Tuesday track. So I'm going to be finishing those tracks. They're going to be released as an EP. I'm working on a new EP, maybe even an album, but I'm not too sure about that. I think it's going to be an EP of about 4 or 5 tracks. And in my opinion, they sound much better than the Tutorial Tuesday track. So naturally, I feel much more like working on those tracks instead of working on the Tutorial Tuesday track. Now, I might actually do a video about working on those new Neurofunk tracks, if you guys want that. So if you want that, leave a comment below and tell me that you want to see me working on that project, and I'll try to do some videos about it. I don't know if I'm actually gonna go and finish the Tutorial Tuesday track. I think I will at some point in time, and I possibly will do a video about it when I finish it, but I don't know when that's gonna happen. I'm also working on a lot of other stuff. I've got a new sample pack and preset pack coming up. It's one pack. I'm still thinking of how I want to release it. I might want to release them as 2 different packs and then do a bundle that you can buy, or I'll just do it as one pack. But the thing I'm creating is I'm creating a pack called Neuro Essentials, and this pack will basically contain all kinds of sounds and patches, presets that you might be able to use in neurofunk, neurohop, dubstep, glitch hop, any kind of genre that has those neuro-ish kind of sounds. So I'm talking about heavy bass sounds, I'm talking about interesting drums laid with Foley sounds, and all those kind of stuff. So what you're gonna get is there's gonna be a pack that's the whole product, the bundle, is basically going to consist of a sample pack and a preset pack. The sample pack contains a whole library of drums, and all the drum sounds have been carefully processed by me to get the most amount of punch, the most amount of energy out of the drums as possible. So all of these drums have already a big sound, and you can just put them into your project and start working with them. They've all been carefully processed to make sure that the transients come through, that they're all really nice and heavy. Then you have that drum library. It has kicks, snares, hats, claps. It has all the kind of drum samples that you can think of. And then it also has groups with one-shot bass sounds and possibly one-shot synth sounds as well. I haven't made any of the synth sounds yet, but I think I will include some of those as well. There's also going to be loops in there, so there's going to be drum loops, bass loops, and synth loops most likely. There's going to be effect sounds, possibly some effects loops as well. I think I'm thinking more of a way like down sweeps and up sweeps, and that are exactly 16 bars long and stuff like that. But next to that, all of those sounds, except the drum sounds, I mean, the drum sounds are created using layering and processing and stuff like that. Sometimes layering a synthesized kind of hit in there, but mostly it's just samples that are being processed and are worked on. A lot of acoustic samples that are being processed as well, and those create the drums. But all the other sounds, so the bass sounds, the synth sounds, the effects, all of those kind of things are created using synthesis by me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not only gonna include the samples and the loops of the bass sounds and the bass lines and the synths and stuff like that. I'm also gonna include the patches that I use to create those sounds with. So you're not only gonna get a sample pack, but you're also gonna get a preset pack. And all of these presets will be for Xfer Records Serum. So if you have Serum, then you might want to buy the bundle. But I'm thinking there might be people who don't have Serum, but still want to get the samples. So I might release it as a bundle and then 2 separate projects, so you can also buy just the samples or just the presets. That might be an idea. And then I'll also have a bundle, and of course the bundle will get a discounted price or something like that. So just let me know what you think of it. What do you think? How should I release it? Should I release this as just one product that you buy and then you get the samples and the presets? Or should I release them as separate projects and do a bundle? Let me know. So that's it for this week's video. I'm forgetting one thing. Even though I've been doing all this stuff, I'm also doing something else right now. I've been visiting a lot of abandoned buildings in the past weeks, and I've been doing a lot of photographs. So I've been trying to do something more with those photographs. So I've created a new Facebook page. You can go to there. It's facebook.com/ARTFX So that's one word. I'll put the link in the video right here and in the description below this video. On there you can find my photographs of abandoned buildings. And it's called Urban Exploration, Urbex for short. But I don't know. It gives me a good feeling when I go to these buildings and I explore them. It's amazing to be there, and it's not just a normal small farmhouse anymore. Like like my first urban exploration trip was like a small farmhouse somewhere really nearby here. It's in my hometown, and it's really small. It's just a house, nothing too special. But last weekend we went to the biggest building I've ever been to, that has been abandoned. It's insane. I'll put the photograph inside the screen right now so you can see it. And if you want to see more of those photographs, then click the link, go to my Facebook, or go to Instagram. Instagram.com/ARTFXUrbex. That's also where I post those photographs. So, yeah. I've been shooting I've shot a video there as well, so I'm going to upload that video, I think, on this YouTube channel. It might be cool to just show you guys what other stuff I do, because I don't just make music, I do other stuff as well, and I like to share that with you. So expect a video coming soon about urban exploration. Don't worry, I'm not gonna stop doing tutorials. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do just urban exploration, and now it's still gonna be tutorials, and this channel is still gonna be about music production. But I just wanna put that video out. I just want other people to see it. That was it, really, for this video. I hope you liked it. Subscribe to this channel if you want, and I hope to see you back soon. If you have any ideas for future tutorials, let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to read them. I might not answer to all the comments, but I read everything. So if you want to see more, I hope to see you back soon. Peace.